that's contained in the 356 Fighter Group Roll of Honour.
Lieutenant Louis G. Alphonse, Lieutenant Richard J. Andrino, Lieutenant Ben B. Barnes, Lieutenant Walter M. Baskin, Lieutenant D. Witt T. Bell, Jr., Lieutenant William C. Buchek, Flight Officer Everett L. Brock, Lieutenant William F. Brown, Lieutenant John L. Bruce, Lieutenant Robert E. Carr, Lieutenant William W. Cotter, Lieutenant Robert A. Kaufner, Jr., Lieutenant Thomas E. Creevy, Flight Officer Edmund L. Decker, Lieutenant James A. Desjardins, Lieutenant Carl W. Dunn, Lieutenant Raymond F. Engel, Captain Brian A. Evans, Lieutenant Raymond C. Portner, Captain Raymond H. Gansberg, Lieutenant John H. Garland, Private A. P. Gurishek, Lieutenant Shirley J. Green, Captain Claude J. Hackney, Jr., Lieutenant Vance C. Harney, Jr., Lieutenant Eli P. Harris, Lieutenant William R. Hayden, Lieutenant Justice D. Henry, Captain Willis A. Holm, Lieutenant Thomas Van Holtzhausen, Lieutenant Milton H. Hebner, Captain Paul H. Hyde, Jr., Lieutenant Shelby N. Jett, Lieutenant William E. Johnson, Jr., Lieutenant Lester H. Knapp, Lieutenant Casimir F. Crowick,
Lieutenant Chester W. Lawrence, Lieutenant Edward P. Lee, Lieutenant Robert M. Leedy, Lieutenant Henry L. Lewis, Lieutenant Dollar A. Martin, Lieutenant Johnny F. Martin, Lieutenant Wallace G. Maxwell, Lieutenant Preston W. McKeown, Lieutenant Alan M. Metzger, Lieutenant Joseph W. Mills, Lieutenant Grant F. Moyer, Lieutenant Wendell J. A. Nelson, Lieutenant Joseph Obosler, Lieutenant Ralph E. Odenwald, Lieutenant Ernest M. Parham, Lieutenant James H. Perry, Lieutenant James T. Price, Lieutenant Roland W. Racine, Lieutenant Raleigh S. Ragsdale, Jr., Lieutenant Richard J. Wrench, Lieutenant Harry F. Rideout, Lieutenant Paul J. Roberts, Flight Officer Willard W. Royer, Lieutenant Louis B. Runyon, Lieutenant Russell C. Schonberg, Lieutenant Henry C. Scott, Lieutenant Eldon L. Slanker, Lieutenant Jack T. Smith, Lieutenant Rickard J. Stone, Captain John B. Stratford, Jr., Lieutenant Thomas D. Teal, Lieutenant John R. Tillman, Captain Harold F. Traub, Flight Officer John P. Tucker, Lieutenant Bernard A. Tuckey, Lieutenant Richard B. Warren.
When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow we gave our today.
Parade. Attention. Standard bearers carry